So hello everyone, and so welcome from this workshop of today. So today the purpose will be a master of your emotion. So before beginning, I hope you are healthy and all your family are doing well regarding the situation we face on. And I think this purpose of today, about regarding this situation of the coronavirus and perhaps staying at home. I think this perspective is really relative and really efficient. So hope it could provide also some help and thought in your soccer way, but also in your personal way. So before going through the presentation, just an organization item. If you have any concern or if there is any issue about the video or the presentation, do not hesitate to make a quick note on the crit writing on the chat application of Zoom. So this way I can figure it out and react quickly. Okay, so this presentation first is based on the book, Master of Your Emotion, that you saw on the screen. So really, if you want to find more information, details, and tools to get deeper into the purpose, do not hesitate to read that book or go on the website and see all details you can have. It's really an interesting book and really well illustrated. So yeah, I take many of my information from that book. So the summary of today, first we are going to do a link between soccer and emotion. Is there a link between our favorite sport and how to manage emotion? After, see what is an emotion, because we heard a lot about that, but how does it work? And after, what tools could we use to manage better our emotions? And if you look at the talking of Boris Cyrulnik just on the screen, really the aim is not to shutting our emotions down. How could we use it to, at the end, place better, but also be better in our life? So soccer is really a mix of many emotion, and you could see some emotion here on the pictures in the screen. But this observation also happen everywhere in soccer, in amateur or professional level, in youth on senior level, and youth, it starts at 5 to 15, 16, 17 years old. You can also link the emotion to individual people, also as a team, as a group of players, but also as your position on the field, goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, and also the role you could have in the team. So you could have different emotion if you have a captain, just a player, a coach, a fans, and all the roles that is around the team. So it's really interesting to see how soccer have several roles, several positions, several moments in the game too, during the game, before the game, after the game. And all this emotion and how we could switch from emotion to another is really something who can be extreme and on a regular basis in the game. And this is all of that, who I would say is a really good observation that soccer is really a mix of many emotions. So before going a little deeper after this picture, just take a time, 1 minute if you want, 2 minutes, to find why soccer, why the characteristic of soccer could cause this emotion. So why for you, soccer, we could have arousal in soccer, why we could have anger in soccer, why sometimes we could feel fear or annoying in soccer. So take a time, 1 minute, to just think about that. Okay, we'll give you just also some ID and hope perhaps you will find connection with yours, or perhaps you have also other ID that is also good and interesting. But yeah, soccer first is a fast game with lots of change in its moments. So we have the ball, we do not have the ball, there is the transitioning moments, there is set pieces too. So all that switch of moment can cause emotions. Soccer is also a really creative game. So you must always try to create something, take risk, take initiative, be proactive. So all the meaning of being creative is also emotion related. In soccer too, we could have a quick switch of score leading. We could have leave 2-0 and perhaps in 2 minutes, the other team come back in 2-2. And how could we deal with that? In soccer also, you could have many opportunities to score, but you can never score. And perhaps the other team just have one opportunity and score. So what could emotion do you feel in that moment? And also, soccer have different period. You have the main time, so the 30, or the first 80, 70 or 90 minutes. The additional time, so how could you deal with the additional time with perhaps more tense? You have the penalty time, so could happen. So all these characteristics, yeah, make soccer really a really good sport when you can find many emotion and really lots of switch and extreme emotion in a very short time. So regarding this scenario, I ask a question for you. Did you ever feel this moment when you get surpassed by your emotion? Have you ever feel when you lose control in a practice, in a game, when you do something that is not you, perhaps something that's not fit your values? So yeah, take 10 seconds to think about that. And perhaps it will be related to the characteristics we just said before. But what is important is everybody did. Everybody have ever felt this moment, as you are amateur or professional. And now the aim of this presentation is how we could learn from that and improve. So when we train for soccer, we always train in the 4 areas, 4 corners of the game. So first one is physical. So how emotion have impact on physical aspect. So yes, the stress first is caused by emotion. And when we have stress, we have an increase of energy cost, an increase of the body reaction. So the heart rate, the breath, the muscles start to be tightened. Or at the opposite, when we are too calm, too relaxed, there is a lack of activation. It's difficult to get into the game. And if we just have a look on the chart here of the chart of Yerkes and Dodson, you see that emotion and stress have really an impact on performance. So you must really try to manage emotion, to manage your tense, manage arousal, manage anxiety, and on the other hand, manage also not to have too many comfort, to find a good level of stress. On the area of technical and tactical, I think, did you ever feel the moment when you have less accuracy in your skill? Perhaps when your skill is more slow than you used to? Perhaps when you are out of mind or you don't have a clear understanding of what's happening on the field in your relationship with player. It could be due to emotion and perhaps some things to not help you to be very accurate in your movement. In terms of psychological aspect, and especially on concentration and motivation, we know that soccer is really a sport with information process and decision making. And we always heard about concentrate, be concentrate. If I'm not focused, and focus and concentration is really impacted by emotion. For example, if when you think about something else on the field, perhaps when you are not here, and so your information processing is going to be less efficient. In terms of motivation, when you like or dislike some things, it's also about emotion, and especially when you feel you have not reached your goals. So if you have reached your goals, you feel happiness. And perhaps on the other way, if you don't reach your goals, so you are not motivating, you feel frustration, disappointment. And the last one, perhaps we don't talk a lot, it's about the behavior and your attitude. And it's about, when emotion take the lead, when you lose control, when you have reaction that is not you, that perhaps you are really surprised to have, when you have a reaction that is not fit your values. And as you see, and it happens perhaps more often than we think. And also the last aspect I would like to talk, because I heard a lot from player, but also from coaches, also from me doing this presentation, is about self-confidence. Self-confidence first is I am able to get into the action. So I am able to do this presentation. It's different of have a good feeling of yourself. Perhaps I know I am good, but perhaps I am not able to do this. Or on the other side, I know I have some difficulty, I know I have some weakness to doing that, but I'm doing it. So self-confidence is really impacted by emotion, because to have self-confidence, you must do. And so you will have some difficulties, you must do mistakes. And that's why emotion will appear. And you could have fear, happiness because you success what you do, tense because you feel that you struggle to do it, relieved, annoying, and all that kind of stuff. And I will show you a little video about self-confidence, and you will see about managing your emotions and doing things simple. And you see, it's not perhaps a common situation that you can face on.
Cody Gribble at 6? Well, you know what? Smiley.
So yes, simple situation, but you are on the field, you have a gather in front of you. Are you able to go and touch it, or are you afraid of that, like the second golfer, and you step back? So emotion take the lead at the moment, and so your self-confidence is impacted. So now we are going to talk about what is emotion, how does it work? So first, a little work on yourself. First, and the main thing is, could you identify your emotion? So find a moment at practice or in a game when you have feeling, joy, anger, fear, or frustration. Find one example or two examples. We have 1 minute. Doesn't matter the number, but try to do it. And what was that situation at this moment? What was happened to create anger, fear, or frustration for you, or joy? What physical sense did you feel? And after, how did you react? So I'll let you 1 minute just to find an example for yourself and be honest with yourself. Okay, so it was little exercise you can do, and it's an exercise perhaps to seem very simple, but you can do in every day of your life for soccer, but also for school, for your job, for your personal life. And it's always interesting if we are able to identify what we are feeling in a situation and how do you react and make the correlation with that. So keep your work with you, because when we are going deeper in the presentation, we will try to do a link with that. So if we see now what is the process to have an emotion, I will say we are going really, we will start from very far away. It's about our reptilian brain. How we say our primal instinct, our basic instinct, like eat, survive, and everything. So we have an event happen, I am hungry, and for example, emotion will come, I have tense, I'm feeling disappointed, I feel anger, I will feel some physical change on me, perhaps I'll start to have my belly do some noise, I start to swell, I don't know, all the feeling that you can have. And you will have an instinctive and automatic reaction. And I try to really use the words react. So you will really react by automatic instinct. So here, you don't have to think, emotion take the lead, and you want to quickly find some food, for example. Now, if we go deeper in the process and perhaps relative to more complex events, we will have one more step who will appear. It will be the step of having a thought. And it's happened before the emotion. And that is why it's really interesting and important, because it's not the event who creates the emotion, but it's what you think about the event or what you think about the consequences of the event. And so I think you could think that it's really influenced by perhaps your culture, by your history, your experience, your social environment. So it's not the event to create the emotion. What you think about it, or what you think about the consequences will happen from that event. So at the end, there will have two choices. If we, rather than perhaps the first example I show you. From that thought, you could always react automatically with some instinctive reaction, or you want to respond different by react. I don't know, I try to choose two different words. I don't know if the words are really different, but it's my aim to find two different words, because it will be two different reply from you. Or you want to respond, so do a deliberate decision regarding that thought. And that's really the difference. So we will go deeper after, and I will show you in the next slide an example about thought you can have about that. But really two different answers about that thought. You react quickly with instinctive and automatic reaction, or you take a time to analyze that thought, to manage that thought, and to do really a deliberate decision. But it's not about the event in himself, it's about the thought on that event. So now how are you going to respond or react to that emotion, that thought? And your answer, your reply will be dictated by your interpretation from an internal cause or from an external cause. So you see, external cause will be you want to react because of other people, because of the environment. For example, I take an event, the referee whistle for a penalty against your team. You have a tough, so it's about the referee wasn't good, the referee make mistakes and everything. So your emotion will be anger, start to lose control, start to focus on the referee, start to perhaps to have revenge on the referee, revenge on the other team because you think they score and they score with an honest position. So you will react. You will really try to have the reaction, an automatic reaction with no time to reflection because you focus on the external cause. It's the referee. On the other way, you can try to have a time on that thought that you feel it's because the referee make mistakes, but not think about it's because of the referee, but try to focus on your need. I will explain. For example, your need will be, I have a need of justice and understanding because I don't understand why the referee are doing this. And also I need a need of justice because I think we concede a goal from not an honest perspective. So your two needs are unsatisfied, but it's not because of the referee, it's your need. You don't focus on the referee. So you could have two ways of respond. First, make a request at the end of the game just to go to see the referee and ask the question, why did he whistle the referee? Or on the other way, you can try to manage yourself. So just to see, okay, my need is not fulfilled, my need is not satisfied, but it's not important. I will try to satisfy and fulfill my need after the game or perhaps during halftime. And so because you don't react really quickly, you don't not disrupt your team and you try to manage yourself. So it's really two different ways of manage the thought and your emotion. So because you manage the thought, you don't think it's an external cause, but you think it's an internal cause and it's just because of your need. You will manage your emotion and perhaps not react, lose control, or have perhaps bad emotion who will come, negative emotion. Now, if we go deeper in how you can respond to that emotion, so we see that we could make a request to the other person, to the other people. But in one way, it can happen that the other people say no to your request. But you must also think that they say no, not because they don't want to, I would say, to reply to your request or to listen to you, but perhaps they say no just because it doesn't fulfill her need or his need. And so that's why now there will be the process of listening each other and try to share to find a common solution. So when you try to if you're going to the step to try to make a request, it's not finished at all. It depends of how the other people react to your request. And after, you try, if she say no, try not to be led by your emotion. Try to perhaps know better what is the need of the other people. And after you can try to make connection and after find a common solution. So now if you get back to your work, on identify your emotion, the little work you done a free slide ago, try to find what was your need that you want to fulfill in the situation you wrote on your paper. So don't think about an external cause. Try to think about what was your need that perhaps was unsatisfied or was satisfied? Did you feel joy? I am thinking also about perhaps several examples who could happen in a team. It could be, for example, about player, you are in the game or in the practice, and perhaps one of your teammates do a bad tackle on you who was really aggressive and physical. So you thought, perhaps first thought you have is my teammates don't like me, or it was because the fault of my teammates if I'm being injured. So you find about, or perhaps it's about my coach who don't manage really well the exercise on the intensity. So we try to find external cause. You react too quickly, you start to be aggressive on your teammates or to react in the same way, to do bad tackle or to have anger, to do some bad words. So if we go in the step to try to respond and not react, perhaps first manage yourself. Take a second about the thought you have. So tell your teammates also, I want to be ready at 100% for the team for the game we have this weekend. So all that way, and if your teammates say, oh, no, I don't want, I want to be aggressive, it doesn't matter for me, perhaps it's not because they don't care about your need, but perhaps I don't know, perhaps in the brain, it's because also she wants to be ready for the game. She wants to be very aggressive, to be aggressive in the next game. So, and perhaps you will have a discussion to find perhaps the right level and intensity you could have in the training. First, to have the good intensity for the next game, but on the other side, not to injure each other. And you can go further. So that's an example. So now we see what tools could we use to respond to our emotion. So we saw that we have two different kinds. We can respond at making a request to other people, or we can respond just by managing ourselves and not react and not be in the reactions, instinctive or automatic reactions, but try to manage and think to do a deliberate decision. So my aim is not to go deeper in each tool. You will find plenty of information on website, also on the book, Master Your Emotion, that I use for the presentation. But just to give you some idea and some perhaps insight of each tool. So each tool is connected also. It's very important. There is not one who is isolated from other. If you use one tool, you will lose another one very quickly because everything is connected. And is also connected with each corner, physical, the stress, technical, tactical, psychological, and behavior. So I will say the big idea, if you have a look on the self-awareness, manage out-of, and the abdominal breath, the big idea is first is connected to what Phil Jackson's sentence are in the presentation, is instead of I was my player and for strategy to calm them down. So the big idea really is to search for calm and relaxation. And you see it's done at very high level because I'm sure you know him. Phil Jackson is a really renowned NBA basketball coach. So we are really searching for calm and relaxation. But behind of that, we will see there will be other solution, other item that we can find with that tool. So self-awareness. So self-awareness, it's really feel how you are in the current situation. It can seem very simple, say like that, but if you just have a quick look now, could you see now how are you feeling in the current situation? Are you aware quickly of what you're feeling, physical feeling, your emotion feeling, what's your sense? So it's really how you can be calm and have a clear picture of you and not react to thoughts you can have on your awareness, on your body in that current situation, just to welcome the sensation. And the aim of that at the end is to make free and deliberate decision, because you are not, how do we say, you are not influenced by your feeling, by your sense. You are not influenced by your thoughts. You are really aware of how are you feeling now. And all the practice like yoga, meditation, have this aim as a purpose. And we have really a good sportsman who use that techniques of yoga is DelCroix. And I will show you a little video of himself.
Everybody works hard, everybody's more committed. It's all mental in the end. It's all mental game. This is what I wanted always to do, to become the best in the world.
I had some difficulties with the breathing in the past. Choose to start with the yoga lessons, and I was lucky enough to be surrounded with the good people who know yoga, were into yoga for a long time, and I learned a lot of stuff. It helped me not just with the breathing, it helped me with my mental strength and the performance in general. It requires a lot of peace, a lot of quietness. So I try to do daily at least one time.
So yeah, we see perhaps one thing that we see on the video is when DelCroix said it helped him really to be, I will say, focus on what we do. And you saw one time he's doing one skill, one movement, I will say very slowly, and you really have the feeling that he's really concentrate and focus on his movement. And it's what I say in self-awareness. So what feeling do you have when you do this kind of movement? And you are really aware of all the feeling you have. You have the feeling, this is the tense I have in that arm. This is the feeling I have in the other arm. How is my stance at this moment? And after, if he really aware of this feeling and this situation, when he will be on the match, on the game, he will try to be as closer as possible to that feeling when he play a game. So that's kind of visualization. Sorry. You see in the video that DelCroix talked also about breath. And yeah, and I will say, if we are very on detail, it will be the abdominal breath. It's really important. It's not breath with the chest, but breath with I will say your belly, with the abdominal. So it's really a tool to create a good atmosphere in order to process to self-awareness and manage your thoughts. So it's really a tool you can use with everything. And it's something you can do for 10 minutes, as you can do it for just 1 minute before, before shooting a penalty, a free kick, or at the halftime when you go, the whistle just doing it, it's halftime, 1 minute just to have an abdominal breath to really calm and relax and be aware of what you're feeling at the moment. We saw just before we talk about the thought. So the aim also, if we are really understand, it's not the thought lead us, but the opposite. So could we lead our thought? And in that way, the aim is also not to have judgment on us, but only fulfill your need. So it's really important. So don't take judgment on us. Don't say, I am not good enough, or I am not good to do that things. It's a judgment, but could we try to think about just fulfill your needs? So in the other way, what could I say? I'm not good enough on shooting, for example. It's really simple, but think about just the need. I need to improve my shot, or I think I need to train too much harder and be more focused on my shot. So that's really different. It's just perhaps different sentence, different words, but it's really important not to think about judgment of yourself, but think about need to fulfill. Also, and it's something very common about TOEFL, it's manage past remembering or future forecast, which create many emotion. If we are really use our past remembering, oh, I used to do that, I am used to success on everything, I am used to doing that things in that way, or I am used to have good results. If we only focused on the past, or if we do lots of future forecasts, we are not in the present, we are not aware of the current situation. So it could be, we will have many emotions. Perhaps we will be nostalgic, or perhaps we will have fear because we think we are used to do that and now we are going to not to succeed, and lots of emotion can happen. So be in the present. Try really to manage past remembering and future forecast. And at the end, the last tool, really simple too. I will say when you look just at that, it changed I must by I choose. And it's really connected to motivation. So for example, we tell ourselves, I must go to practice, and perhaps at this moment, I feel I am not really motivated. And if I say me, I must go to practice, it feels like a mandatory, so it will not help me. So could we think, it's always the same process, could we think about need unsatisfied or need that we satisfied? And after, we have just take one to create motivation and focus on that need for the practice. So now I will say, I choose to go to practice to fulfill that need. And it will be more powerful. It will give us a deliberate practice. It will give us a meaning to go to practice. So it's really connected also about setting goals. If you set goals, you choose to go to perhaps practice to reach that goals, and so you have motivation. So it's right for practice, for soccer, but you can use that tool for everything. So think, change I must by I choose. And now to finish, if we have a look on the, if we respond to emotion or thought by making a request. So it's a lot about communication. So the first thing, it's do not wait for others to guess what you're feeling or to guess what you want to ask. It's in that way, often we think that other people know what I'm feeling, know what I want to. But no, it's not the case. So do not wait for others to guess. There is also, know that if you want to make the request, there is a method. that is quite interesting. First is to start with the fact. So the fact will be the situation. For example, the fact is, if we take always the mistake as the penalty who was whistling against you, that is the fact. We have a penalty against us. The feeling, so what you're feeling at this moment, and I am feeling, it's about emotion, I'm feeling disappointed, I'm feeling angry. You can have all the feeling you can have. After, think about your need. So we see just before my need of justice and understanding who is unsatisfied. And after, you can do your request. So because I don't understand when we have the penalty and I feel so it's not honest again, it's not honest for us, you can make your request to other people. But if you go with that step, it makes more clarity for the other people to really know what you want and what you're feeling and what need you want to fulfill. When you do that communication, for sure, do have a calm communication and empathic communication when the other people perhaps make also his request. So listen to what the other people say with no judgment. And in this calm communication, we find also the tools we just said before about perhaps use the abdominal breath to be calm just before doing your request, for example. And the last one about making a request and communication, it's also about needs. Could you find the needs behind criticism? When perhaps sometimes make criticism, it's perhaps because he don't use a good way of communication, or he doesn't succeed to express what is his need at the moment. So could you try to find the needs he wants to satisfy? So it's about questioning empathic behavior, and after ask question and really listen to what the other people say. So sometimes don't take the criticism at the first with an attack. Try to think it's perhaps more a way, it will be more, I will say, not the people don't use the good way to communicate with you. So to conclude, and really, I hope that this presentation gives you the will to try to develop your emotional intelligence. We talk a lot in soccer and about game intelligence, understanding the game, and with the four corners, we are technical, tactical, psychological concentration, and physical, but try to develop your emotional intelligence. So how you could manage your emotion, how you could respond more than react. And you can use a good communication to better understand your teammate or the other people who make a request. So it's a lot about knowing ourselves more than knowing other. And if we take the sentence of Thomas d'Azenbourg, we have really the connection. It's really about first knowing yourself more than knowing other. So it's really a powerful tool. And if it can take a long time, it's also hard because it's about knowing yourself. It's about managing ourselves. And as a women, we don't like this because we have the feeling that we feel weak because it's about emotion. But clearly, if you manage your emotion, you will feel stronger. So again, do not hesitate to go on that website, and I used that book to do that presentation. It's really an interesting book, but you could find also many information on the internet if you search on other book. But this one is really quite interesting. So I thank you for your attention, and I wish you always a lot to take care of you and your family. Have a good end of afternoon and a good end of your day. Goodbye.